Hey guys, another knife review for you. This one, as you can see, is the Spyderco Dodo. Um, I'm actually just going to jump right into this. I'm going to read off a couple specs, a couple things about the knife, and then give you my opinions and how it's been over the past couple weeks. First off, this knife weighs 2.8 ounces. It is 6.2 inches overall. It has a 2.1 inch blade, but a 1 3/4 of an inch blade, or cutting edge. And its handle is 4.4 inches long. Um, yeah, so as you can see, it's kind of a short cutting edge, but I mean, it's very effective. I'll get into that in a second. It's got a half flow-through design. Sorry. As you can see, there's the little standoff there, and then the rest of it is a backspacer needed for the ball bearing lock, which is a really interesting lock if you have not seen it or heard of it. It's really cool and really sturdy. This is completely USA made, as far as I know. That's what Spyderco says. As you can see, it says made in Golden, Colorado, and it uses CPM S30V steel, which is a premier steel. If you guys are new to the knife community, I'm sure anyone watching this probably knows a thing or two already about knives. This one is designed, actually, apparently this was Eric Glesser's first knife design. I've been finding that I really dig his designs, and they're actually the ones that I really like the most. I mean, over the past week I've been kind of fooling around with the Dodo, or past 2.5 weeks at this point. I've been using the Dodo. One knife that I really love playing with is the Small Fly, which, yeah, this knife is just a really great, just fooling around knife. And the Manix 2 FRCP, you know, the lightweight Manix 2. Probably one of my all-time favorite EDCs. This knife is sweet, feels great in the hand. Yeah, and this knife feels even better, which is its whole claim to fame, is that it may be ugly to some people. I think it's a nice looking knife, in a weird way. But oh my god, is this thing comfortable. Holy crap, this thing is just like every possible position you could think of is just really comfortable. Probably has a lot to do with the forward choil, the big swell on the back, the nice little dip here for your your middle and ring finger, and then a nice pinky shelf right there, which also comes to a very narrow end, which is kind of cool looking, especially when it's clipped to your pocket, because think of it upside down. This is about what's sticking out of your pocket. Looks kind of cool. People don't really think it's a knife. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Anyway, I got this knife used, technically. The guy said he'd never really carried it, and he'd never cut anything with it. He just kind of took it out of the box to see, which I don't know if that's true or not, but for all I know, the knife did look completely brand new and unused out of the box. But I don't know if you can see there, but sort of right where my fingernail is, right there, there's a small chip in the blade. I don't know if that guy accidentally did that, or if it came like that, but I have heard these had a couple sharpening and edge issues right out of the box on multiple people's models, but who knows. Anyway, it hasn't affected it, actually. It's such a little edge damage issue that it hasn't affected any of the performance, and I'm sure with enough sharpening that'll come out. It's pretty shallow and pretty minor, really minor. But yeah, like I said, it's not an issue. Speaking of sharpening, actually, you could probably guess this thing is a little tricky to sharpen. It's got that massive, very accentuated recurve, the reverse S, I think is what Spyderco calls it. Yeah, just digs into whatever you want to draw cut with it, which is really what I've been using this for. Is you pop the tip in and you kind of draw cut, or you kind of radius your way in. I don't know if that's the right term, but you kind of start down here and you curve in. This thing's very sharp. I should probably not do that. Actually, let's see. You won't be able to see it on camera. This thing, I was just fooling around with it, barely touched my skin. Cut me through the first layer or two. Didn't bleed any, but yeah, these things are wicked sharp once you get them sharp. As you can see, it's got that nice edge there. Speaking of sharpening, let's see if you can see this. It's got a hollow grind, as you can see. It kind of curves down to the point. yeah, it's got that nice flat there if you wanted to use any special sharpening system, but I just use this with the Spyderco Sharp Maker. It's pretty tricky to sharpen, like I said. Did take me a while. It did not come super sharp out of the box, but like I said, I got it used. I don't know, maybe the guy did use it just for some cutting tests and then put it back. But where was I? Yeah, it was sharp enough. I mean, it's definitely usable sliced paper, but it wasn't. I thought it'd be a little bit better, but not an issue. It sharpened up just fine after a while. It does take some technique, especially with this one. The blade shape, like I said, it's very good for draw cuts. I tried it with food prep. It's not the best, but it's good at sectioning off softer fruit like a pear. Definitely good, like I said, opening boxes. I guess if you're opening like a box of mac and cheese, a pizza box or something, technically it's food prep. Definitely a glorified box cutter, which really makes this, I feel like that's such a aggressive term for it, is like, oh, who needs the Dodos, just you could get away with a box cutter. Well, that's true, you could, but I mean, that's a sweet looking box cutter, if that's what you want to label it as a box cutter. I think it's really sweet. The clip on this thing is perfect. Perfect retention. Sometimes the wire clips are a little bit loose and they kind of make a clicking noise if you press on them like this. This one stays in its place, and it's perfectly tight, easy to get in and out of the pocket, but will not fall out, which is great, because you do not want to lose this knife. Also, I should probably say now that this was a sprint run. There was only 1,000 of these made in this color, which is a very vibrant G10, orange G10. The camera does not do this justice. I mean, I clean this up 2 times, about once a week, since I've been using it, just because I want to keep that G10 looking nice. Yeah, but this thing is very bright in person. I mean, the camera does an alright job at it, but yeah, you really need to see this G10 in person. It's, in fact, you know what, let me check. Yeah, the Urban right here. It's about the same as the Urban. This one just looks a little bit darker on camera because it's dirtier, but yeah, definitely the same texture, or no, a little bit more aggressive feeling them side by side. Has some pretty good texturing on the G10, which is great. Speaking about texture, this has no jimping. Not a problem. You're not going to be using this thing for anything crazy enough for jimping. I mean, and you're not going to be like stabbing in, so you would need to prevent that. You're going to be pulling with this knife. So yeah, and nothing on the bottom of the forward choil, which your finger gets a good grip on there. So like I said, you don't need any jimping. And I think this, speaking of grip, this little curve right here is perfect for a thumb. Like, you get so much control over this, it's ridiculous. In fact, you get so much control over this. I used it for cutting out stencils. I don't know if you guys saw the shirt I made of a Dodo, like the Dodo knife. By cutting out the stencil for that, yeah, or that stencil material, that freezer paper, this does amazing with that. You get so much control over it. You can do curves, which is very tough when you're cutting, especially if any of you have used X-Acto knives for that. It's kind of tough to do corners. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, the lock. I'll talk about the lock. This lock is sweet. It's the ball bearing lock. It's wicked awesome, very sturdy. Let's see if this will focus here. Maybe I'll try to focus in around here. There we go. Yeah, it's really interesting how this is done. You see one spring right there. Obviously, it's got this nice little pushing, I don't know what you'd call it, but we'll just call it a pushing pin. And it presses this, it keeps tension on the ball, which is free spinning. And as you can see, when it gets to the part in the tang, it gets pushed forward, and it's locked in there. It's got 2 springs. I should have done a video on it. I took this apart just to look at the inside, because I never really examined a ball bearing lock. It's got 2 springs on it. There's actually, it gets thinner than that, right there, it gets thinner than that, and then there's a thinner spring, so it's got some pretty good tension on it. Yeah, and it just keeps it locked in place. And there's a like a hair of blade play on this, but I mean, it's so smooth. Like, I'll see if I can. Yeah, you got that going on, but I mean, it's so sweet. I don't want to change it just because it makes it very easy to close one hand. Maybe you'll be able to see this in the shadow. Yeah, you can close it just with one hand. I apologize actually for the close-up of this. I'm actually using my knees instead of a tripod. My tripod's not with me, but yeah. So just bear with me. Anyway, very smooth action on this. And as you use this ball, it's technically self-adjusting because I think the only way that this would ever loosen its lock is if you peened the ball by opening it too much, which that just means making a dent in it. And you need to do that so much that it creates like a gap when you're using it. But this ball is obviously round, so it'll spin to a point where there is no peening on either side, and it'll keep this great lock up, which is awesome. So it's a very sturdy lock. And it's actually easy to get to. A lot of people have had trouble with that. If you have a thumbnail, you can pull it back just one finger, and it just swings open. You don't need to, like I showed in the shadow right here. Yeah, it closes itself if you're holding it kind of like that. It's really awesome. Torx construction, I don't have the numbers on these. I'm going to guess it's a T6 or a TA. Just make sure you have a T6 and a T8. I'm sure all of you have those, and you'll be fine if you want to disassemble this. Yeah. It has, I think it's the most moving parts, or the most parts on any Spyderco to date. Don't quote me on that, or it has a lot of parts. So it is a little bit tricky to disassemble and put back together, but just make sure you know what you're doing and it'll be fine. Yeah. Price on these. When these were released, you could get them for about $150 off of Blade HQ, maybe $160 I think it was, but these are long gone from Blade HQ. You can only get them from other people who have bought them at this point, I believe. I got a pretty sweet deal on this. I want to say I got it for about $170, which is not bad at all. That's $20 more than, or $10 maybe more than I would have paid if I bought it brand new. And if you look on eBay, I got this off Amazon. The guy must have just listed it because I'd been checking all the time for a Dodo because I've always wanted one. Anyway, so I see it and I'd just gotten, I pooled some of the money from my paycheck and my graduation money I had left over, and so I really wanted one, and so I bought it. And that day I've been checking on eBay, and these things go for about $210 around there, so I think I got a good deal. Yeah, so that's the Dodo. I really like it. I would really recommend it if you guys want something kind of unique. Honestly, this isn't the most practical design, but it's alright. The camera's flashing right now, so I'm going to cut off video in just a second here, but yeah, Spyderco Dodo, it's awesome. Definitely check it out if you get the chance. A little bit pricey, but it's definitely worth it. I think it's really great. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video.